What is up, YouTube? You're here with me, Bernardo Rocha, and today we're going to be answering the age-old question. What should you name your photography business? Naming your photography business, man, that is one of the most important decisions that any photographer makes, and it's also pretty much one of the first. So I've been shooting for 10 years, and man, I have made every mistake in the book. I've rebranded, my God, I was like 17 years old when I started shooting, and I've rebranded like 4 times. And let me tell you guys, rebranding is not fun. Because when you decide to change your photography name, you have to figure out, is the domain available? Is the name available on Instagram? Is it available on Facebook? You gotta set up a new email, you gotta commission a new logo. Not fun. So my goal with this video is to share my mistakes with you so that you can avoid them and ultimately guide you into picking the photography business name that is right for you. We're gonna take a nice little stroll down memory lane, AKA cringe lane, and have a look at some of my old logos, some of my old business names, so that you can, listen to them as a cautionary tale of sorts and not be like me. Right, so the first mistake that a lot of people make in naming their photography business is naming their business something cool. And this is something that I more so notice with younger photographers, and I can certainly relate because, like I said earlier, I started shooting at 17, and when I was 17, I made this very mistake. I wanted my photography business to have a cool name, and what a 17-year-old thinks is cool is definitely not gonna be timeless, let me tell you that. I was finishing up my last year of high school. I started photography as a side hustle and I was making a pretty nice income at the time, so I decided, let's make it official, let's make a website, let's start a little business page on Facebook, and let's pick a name. So I sat down at my computer, opened up Adobe Illustrator, and started brainstorming names and logos, and the first thing that my teenage brain did was start thinking about some of the stuff that I like Gundam Wing. I freaking loved Gundam Wing. And all the Gundams had super sick names, right? Like there was Death Scythe. Death Scythe was my favorite Gundam. And Heavy Arms, dude, Gundam Wing was so sick back in the day. And I started thinking about the rock bands that I really like and how some of the band members had like super cool names like Nikki Sixx or Zacky Vengeance, stuff like that.
If you want to know what I think that I am, I think that I'm just a rock chick. And I like to rock out.
And I thought, you know what? No, my name is not cool enough. This isn't gonna cut it as a brand for my photography business. So I gotta pick something cool. I gotta pick something hip, something that's gonna really stand out. And what did I come up with? Dead Robot Photography. Dude, I know some of you guys watching this have been with me since the Dead Robot days, so shout out to you. 2011, Dead Robot Photography was born. Man, oh man, what a time. And the worst part was that Dead Robot Photography didn't mean anything to me. It wasn't my nickname. Like, nobody was walking around calling me Dead Robot. I didn't want it to be my nickname. The few times that a few people did call me Dead Robot, like, hey, what up, Dead Robot? I cringed so hard. Like, I really just wanted a sick logo, and I based the name more so around this crappy logo that I made in Illustrator that took me 3 hours to make inexplicably. And that's what determined my branding, and that was just a big mistake. And as things started to get more serious, I did change the logo a number of times. I had commissioned people to make more professional illustrations. Ultimately, I had a logo towards the end of my using that name that I really, really was happy with. I think probably about 2012, I retired that name. And I gotta tell you guys, this was an expensive mistake to make. And at the crux of this mistake is the fact that by picking a cool name and having that mentality that you gotta be like this cool photographer, you're making yourself the hero rather than your client. And if you are gonna be a successful photographer in this space today, your client needs to be the hero. Your client needs to be the focal point, and they need to be where you focus all your attention on. The client is the king. You gotta approach this business with a mindset of providing value for other people rather than yourself. So by starting with a cool name, you're just really kind of getting started on the wrong foot. And I don't think a lot of you guys are gonna be making this mistake, but shout out to my younger photographers who watch this. Don't be like me when I was a teenager. Don't pick something cool. Let's avoid this altogether. Right, so we're all in agreement. We have all pledged not to name our photography business something cool. So what's next? Where do we go from here? Well, the second mistake that I see a lot of photographers make is naming their business something that they find meaningful. They name themselves after a meaningful place, after some meaningful symbols in their life, and I know this doesn't sound like a mistake, but there are a couple of problems with this naming convention as well. Namely, that it's become a bit of a meme to name yourself after something meaningful. There's a lot of memes within this naming convention. I see a lot of botanical names out there for photography businesses. I see a lot of light object, heavy object names in photography businesses these days. Let's come up with a few. Give me a second. Okay, watch. I can like create a photography business right now in front of you. Botanical and botanical. Let me look at some of the plants here. Got one. Okay, vine and rose photography is a name that that probably exists already. I'm gonna check this. Fern and orchid photography. Dude, these are kind of sick. But the reason that they sound so cool is because so many people are doing it. Fern and orchid is rad. Somebody steal this. I know I'm telling you guys not to do this, but somebody used fern and orchid for something. Then we have the light object, heavy object meme, and I'm trying to like look for heavy things around the room. Steel and cotton photography. Anvil, like, you know, like the old like Roadrunner Acme anvils, like those heavy things that like you can forge weapons on. Anvil and pedal. Anvil and pedal. Somebody for sure is gonna use anvil and pedal if it doesn't exist already. And I'm not sure how this trend came to be, but the fact is that it is a trend right now and it's in fashion. And by definition, the fact that it's in fashion means that it will eventually fall out of fashion. When I fell into this trend, I decided to go with cactus and rose photography. And the reason for that was that it was quite meaningful to me because as far as like symbolism goes, the cactus represented myself, which I obviously am Mexican and cactuses are quite Mexican. Este amor apasionado. And my wife is British, so I thought of, you know, the classic British rose. And it just made sense. It sounded really, really chic. It sounded really, really trendy. It sounded like, you know, brides are gonna wanna hire cactus and rose photography. But I took my business in this direction for all the wrong reasons. And that's because I subscribed to this limiting belief that I just wasn't gonna cut it as a brand. I decided that I had to put myself behind a brand name, step back and let that kind of lead. And I went with something really light and really foo-foo, and it just wasn't me. Like, going by the name Cactus and Rose made it really difficult for me to get excited about showing up on Instagram, on socials, representing my brand, promoting myself. It just made it really hard for me to identify with my own freaking business. And oh God, again, another costly mistake. Like, I couldn't move forward with my business for so long because of the name that I gave it. And I will say, one caveat. We'll just go with that. I'll figure it out later and you guys can tell me in the comments how I mispronounce everything. But one caveat, I don't even know what I agreed to say. Caveat. One caveat here, one exception where it makes sense to go by kind of a more abstract, meaningful name would be if in your long-term 5-year plan for world domination, if you see yourself building more of a team, right, of associate photographers under your umbrella, under the umbrella of your business, at that point it makes more sense to go with a naming convention like this. But if not, stick with me because we're gonna continue learning about what kind of names do make sense. The third mistake that photographers make when naming their photography business is going with something that's just kind of confusing. And for me personally, the way that this took shape was, okay, so we're at Cactus and Rose, right? I decided this isn't gonna cut it anymore. I need to make the name more personal. And I decided to go with a very versatile name, but really all versatile in this case and in a lot of cases means is confusing. So I went with Rocha Family Photo. And at the time, my inspiration for a name like this was, you know, like when you're driving along and you pass a business called like James Family Plumbing and you get this like image of a family, like, oh, okay, like if I go with these guys as my plumbers, I'm supporting a small business with like a really nice family. They probably have a sweet tire swing out in the back for the kids. You just get this, ooh, this nice little warm feeling in your heart. And that's what inspired this naming convention. My intention was starting to head in the right direction. We were so close, ooh, we were this close to being in the perfect place because I was starting to step into the brand more. I was using my last name. I was putting myself more so as the face of my photography, but I went about it the wrong way. First of all, this was a wedding photography business, and by using the name Rocha Family Photo, a lot of people just thought that I did family portraits rather than weddings, and I don't blame them. It didn't immediately come to mind that it was, meant to be a family-owned business kind of vibe, because that's just not traditionally seen in the wedding photography space. So it just ended up confusing people. And my second error within this was the fact that I chose photo instead of photography. And really the main reason for that was because Rocha Family Photography was not available on Instagram. But again, this just kind of like threw people for a loop and it confused them. They were like, is he a photographer? Is he a photo studio? Like, do I develop film? And I do see a lot of people fall into this mistake where they, instead of, calling themselves something photography, they go with like blah blah studio or blah blah imaging. And this gets real confusing for the layman real quick.
Do I look like I know what a JPEG is? I just want a picture of a goddamn hot dog.
The name of your business is a big part of a prospective client's first impression of your business. And if that name is already confusing, like right off the bat, you're kind of starting off on the wrong foot and you're probably already out. There are thousands of other photographers out there with less confusing names, with better SEO, and they are going to take your business. And this all kind of clicked for me when I looked at my analytics and I realized that all of my traffic that was coming in from Google was from people who were searching for like family portrait photography. First of all, duh. Second of all, once that dawned on me, I thought, okay, it's time for a change and I don't want to make another change again, so we are gonna do this right this time. Which leads us to, quite frankly, the only way that you should be structuring the name of your photography business. You guys ready for it? You guys ready for the secret sauce? Can I get a little drum roll, please? All you should do is go with first name, last name, photography. Boom, that is it, guys. And I know it sounds a little bit boring and it doesn't seem like the most luxurious name in the world, but it truly is the best and smartest way to name your business, and I'm gonna tell you why. And this is important for you guys to understand because it took me way too long for me to get this, and honestly, I'm sure that it held me back longer than it should have. But you guys really need to understand that as a photographer, you, yes you, are the brand.
I have no shortage of company names. Michael, that's one of them.
The kind of coffee that you drink, the pets that you have, the music you enjoy, all of this combines to become really the experience of what your brand is and is the only key differentiator that you have from all of the other amazing photographers out there. I'm gonna pull up this quote from Seth Godin real quick, and Seth Godin is the freaking godfather of marketing. He defines a brand as the set of expectations, memories, stories, and relationships that, taken together, account for a consumer's decision to choose one product or service over another. And when I take in those words and I really understand that definition, I can look back and see the very first time that having a brand, so to speak, affected me in my life and helped me get ahead. Let's time travel back a few years and let's look back on when I was a teenager. We had a young Luis out there and he was looking for a summer job. I was looking for a job at the mall, one of those like entry-level sales associates jobs that require like 6 years of experience for some reason. But I was struggling. I wasn't getting any calls back. I left my application at so many stores. And the reason that I struggled so hard to get calls was because it's an oversaturated field. There are so many teenagers out there looking for entry-level jobs at the mall that it's a really crowded space. Sound kind of familiar? Photography is a bit crowded as well, so stay with me and really listen to where I'm trying to go with this story here. So I was competing with every single other 16-year-old who had just been legally allowed to work and was trying to get an entry-level job for minimum wage. That's a lot of competition. And I finally got a call back from a clothing store called Superdry. Shout out Superdry. And I had my first interview, then I had my second interview with the hiring manager. This was the guy that was gonna be making the decision on whether or not I got the job. And the interview went well, we wrapped up, and as the hiring manager was walking me out, he asked me what kind of music I listened to. And I was kind of nervous to answer truthfully, but something inside me told me to just be honest, and I answered back. I said, well, right now I'm really enjoying Mastodon, Lamb of God, a lot of that like wave of American heavy metal. And dude, his eyes lit up instantly. He listened to the same stuff and we started nerding out about music. I think we ended up talking longer about music than my entire interview lasted. And as you can imagine, I got a call later that day offering me the job. Big win for young Louie. That was the first time I was ever legally employed, and it's all because I told the hiring manager that I listened to heavy metal.
When I was a kid, you dressed like a woman and you sung about the devil. Now that was music.
The point that I'm making with this story is the fact that you guys already know the photography space is really crowded. We work in a very saturated field and we're all trying to accomplish similar things. Good photos, even the best photos, aren't enough anymore to make you stand out. And when we're talking about our prospective clients who aren't photographers themselves, they can't really articulate why they like one photo over another. They might say they like the colors, but they don't understand your technical approach. They don't care the way that you like approach color science, like they don't understand that. So what they're really doing when they are making a decision on booking somebody is they are booking the person. They are booking you. Your personality, your sense of humor, all of the things that make you unique as a person are the exact same things that are going to attract potential clients to you and ultimately get them super psyched about booking you. And look, it's not lost on me that it takes a lot of bravery to stand up and step up and put yourself at the forefront of your business, at the forefront of your brand. But one of the most satisfying parts about photography, particularly wedding photography, is building deep and meaningful connections with my clients. And if I'm not putting myself out there and just being myself with them on the internet, they're never gonna get to know me. I'm never gonna get to know them, and I'm not gonna get the privilege of creating really these friendships with people who hire me to take pictures at the most important day of their life. So you gotta put your brave face on, you gotta step up, and you have to really embrace the fact that you are the brand. You are the experience, you are the business. By naming your photography business after yourself, you are effectively humanizing your photos. You are allowing people to see you as a person rather than a nameless business. Like, think about this for a second. So you guys remember, early in my photography career, my first name was Dead Robot Photography. Who would you rather sit down for a client meeting with over a cup of coffee? Would you rather sit down with me, ya boy, Luis Bernardo Rocha, or would you rather go get a cup of joe with Dead Robot Photography? I think the answer is pretty obvious. Bonus tip, don't have your logo as your profile pic on Instagram. Ideally, get like, a sweet, nice little headshot of you smiling or laughing and make that your profile pic, because just like I said regarding names, when you have your face as your main avatar on socials, it's just so much more inviting, so much more of a human experience rather than just some cool black and white logo. Like, I follow a few photographers who I've met through social media and they've always had a logo for their profile pic, and I just kind of struggle to really get to know them. So, bonus tip, enjoy. And like personally, I was worried for a while that my name was a bit long in the tooth, my full name, Luis Bernardo Rocha. But if you feel that way, hear me out. You just gotta say screw it, because I looked back and I remembered all of the different directors who have won Best Picture at the Oscar recently. You've got Bong Joon-ho, you've got Guillermo del Toro, and you've got Alejandro G. Iñárritu, who has a freaking Mexican N in his name. He has the Enye that a lot of people struggle with, and that hasn't held him back one bit. If anything, you guys, if you have a long and unique name that you think might be a little challenging to people, that's almost more memorable. That's almost better, because people aren't gonna forget it anytime soon. So whether you're a Saoirse Ronan or a John Smith, embrace your name, embrace your identity, and let those prospective clients get to know you. This is by far the most effective way to take that first step into building a relationship with your prospective customers, and I know that all of you guys out there will benefit from this. That is gonna be it for me today, you guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. I truly hope that this video helps you save a little bit of time, avoid the mistakes that I made, and ultimately just helps you get ahead faster, man. Let me know in the comments, what did you think of this video? Share your photography name in the comments. Let us know what you chose to go with and why. I'd love to read it. I'd love to see what you guys are rocking with these days. Until next time, please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and if you really like this video, hit that little bell icon down there so you can get updated every time I post a new video, because I do post once a week. Till I see you guys again, you guys be good, and you guys take care. Bye.